Tropical storm Sara is currently bringing historic rainfall to portions of Honduras. We'll look at that and if it could survive to get into the Gulf of Mexico. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's nice to see you on a Friday. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, I've got all the newest information on Tropical Storm Sara just absolutely plaguing portions of Central America and the Yucatan with widespread, heavy, flooding, life-threatening rains, some good gusty winds, and even some storm surge potential. So we'll look at what's been happening with Sara now, how this is going to play out for this area over the weekend, and if Sara could actually get into the Gulf of Mexico early next week. We'll look at other impactful weather across our area today, and I've got your island-by-island rainfall forecast for the weekend and the early part of the week ahead. As always, I'd love to hear from a Meteo Mundo weather community. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like, especially if you've been impacted by Tropical Storm Sara. Our thoughts are with you guys. Let's get into it here. Got the newest information to pass along from the Hurricane Center, the latest advisory. First, let's just take a look across this area. Sara, again, is a very sloppy, elongated tropical storm. The center of circulation sits just off the coast of northern Honduras, just northeast of La Ceiba, just south of the Roatan, Guanaja areas. The numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour. We've had steady 25, 30, 35 mile an hour winds. Yes, it's been breezy, but the bigger story has been the amount of rain, especially the northern sides of Honduras. Some of the pictures and videos coming out of the La Ceiba area, other areas of northern Honduras like San Pedro Sula, they're no good. Fast-moving, heavy flash flooding rain, life-threatening mudslides and landslides are already occurring, and more of that is likely as this inundation of rain is likely to continue throughout all of today, all of Saturday, and most of Sunday as well, as basically Sara meanders over the northern coastline of Honduras, eventually pulling into Belize late in the day on Sunday. Let's take a look at the latest advisory for the Hurricane Center. Of course, I can just pull this right up on screen and we'll look at this together. Winds are 50 miles an hour. Now, that's going to be in a very small concentrated area near the center of circulation. Most winds around Sara are 30 to 35 miles an hour. It's moving west at 2 miles an hour. It's basically not moving, and that's the problem. Minimal central pressure is 997 miles an hour. So we do have a couple of different tropical storm warnings that are now in effect for the northern coastline of Honduras from Punta Patuca. Apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Westward to the Honduras-Guatemala border includes the Bay of Honduras, the Caribbean Sea coast of Guatemala, the coast of Belize, and then the coast of Mexico from Puerto Costa Maya southward to Chetumal. So portions of Quintana Roo now are under a tropical storm warning. It doesn't include places like Tulum, Cancun, and Cozumel as of yet, but basically from the southern sides of Quintana Roo throughout coastal Belize, Guatemala, and the northern coastline of Honduras are all under tropical storm warnings, including, of course, places like Roatan and Guanaja as well. This is what the track looks like from the Hurricane Center. Again, look at the timestamps. Look how slow this is likely to move, not even moving inland into Belize until sometime during the day on Sunday. Now, the Hurricane Center still has this basically blowing apart, becoming post-tropical as it gets into the southwest Gulf of Mexico. So the Hurricane Center still believes that the center of circulation does not survive its inland track over the Yucatan and will dissipate as it gets into the Gulf. We'll take a look at what some of the other models are saying, but again, that's good news for areas like Florida again, but we may not be able to completely say goodbye to Sara, and we'll talk about that coming up. But man, oh man, the amount of rain that this is going to bring to these areas. Again, right now on this Friday, you can see the winds. You can see that the moisture is extending as far east as Jamaica, where showers and storms are developing, especially the central and the western sides of the islands. So best chances for rain will be from places like Mandeville and Maypen and Ocho Rios, westward to Falmouth and Montego Bay and Cambridge and Savlamar, Negril and Lucy. This is not just some rain. Look at the live lightning count here at Meteo Mundo, getting some thunderstorms developing along coastal Hanover and Westmoreland parishes. absolutely there's a chance that some rain could backbuild into the Kingston, Halfway Tree, Portmore, Spanish Town, Linstead area, and even to the far eastern side of the island. But I think the better concentration of rain will be central and western sides of the islands, at least through the late Friday afternoon and evening hours, with more redeveloping on Saturday. We actually have some flood potentials here for Grand Cayman. We've had some excessive rainfall for today, all that dark black and white higher cloud tops indicative of some heavy downpours near the Grand Cayman area that have moved east towards Little Cayman and Cayman Brac from time to time. But very rich tropical moisture extends on the northeast side of Sara to bring some impacts to Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. But obviously the more steady, persistent impacts are here over portions of Nicaragua, northern Honduras, into coastal Guatemala and Belize right now, where the rain and the winds are beginning to pick up on over towards Punta Gorda there, towards Dangriga, Belize City itself, San Pedro, on over towards the Chechemal area there, the southern sides of Quintana Roo. Rain is beginning to build in towards Tulum and Cozumel, and we've had scattered showers as far north as Cancun. But the areas that I've mentioned here in the Yucatan will be more impacted by Sara late on Saturday and as we get into Sunday as the center continues to pull up to the north and to the west. Now, I have some viewer videos to show you out of these areas, especially in Guanaja. Let's take a look at this. Here's Jennifer Mendoza, right along the coastline. First of all, you can see the wave action coming in. We're already even getting a little bit of erosion there. You can see that almost kind of a cliff there, if you will, of where the water is pushing in. You can see the docks there. So we've had some wave action. Storm surge in Guanaja, Roatan, northern coastal sides of Honduras could be 1 to 3 feet. That's in excess of the high tides. That's what it looks like from Jennifer's perspective there in Guanaja. This is Henry's perspective of Guanaja. I don't know if they're neighbors or not, but you get the same idea. Again, it's kind of the same situation. The water coming up over some of those docks right now, and there's more heavy rain to come, and there's probably elevated water to continue to fall in these areas. So appreciate both Jennifer and Henry. Send me in those videos. Keep us up to date what's happening in Guanaja. And again, friends, this is going to continue to be the big story. In inland portions of Honduras, there's some higher terrain, higher elevation, and that's where we could have some really problematic landslides and mudslides. So let's take a look at the models and see how the rain is going to play out, okay? And then we'll take a look at the specific potential rainfall totals, because I hate to say this, but sadly, the amount of rain that could fall in these areas have actually been increased, even higher than what we've talked about the last couple of days. There's no doubt about that Sara could bring historic rainfall to especially portions of Honduras, but also excessive rainfall to portions of Guatemala, El Salvador, Belize, and at least the southern sides of the Yucatan Peninsula as well. So here's how it plays out on the GFS model. We'll back it up to basically this evening here. Oh, one more day, the 15th. Today is Friday the 15th. And again, it's a sloppy system. The center of circulation so close to land. Yes, there's 50-mile-an-hour winds. Yes, the official forecast just before landfall in Belize is actually to get up to 60-mile-an-hour winds. So we do have to talk about the wind impacts for coastal Belize as well. But obviously, the more widespread impacts are the amount of rain that this is going to bring. Notice again, as we go overnight, the center basically doesn't move. It might slide a little bit off towards the west. It might even retrograde a little bit back off towards the east. But by this time tomorrow, you see that there is not much of a difference in the aerial coverage of the rain. This is just a huge slug of tropical moisture sitting over the western sides of the Caribbean. Some of that heavier rain will again continue to extend all the way towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, but just be more persistent and consistent over portions of Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, portions of Quintana Roo as well. It's just going to be wet, friends. This is just going to be flooding. It's going to be a huge problem here. And again, as we even get into Sunday, the 17th, we'll finally start to see the core of the storm move inland into the Yucatan. Now, the GFS does dissipate this like the Hurricane Center is talking about, and we never truly get a tropical low to redevelop in the Southwest Gulf. We will pick this up in just a second as to how this could play out here into the early part of next week, and still the potential impacts it could bring to some areas. But obviously our initial concerns are what is likely to fall here as far as the amount of rain. Before we get into the rainfall totals, let me just show you those winds that I were talking about real quick as well. So these are going to be sustained surface-based winds here on the GFS model. Now again, it is wholly dependent on whether the center of circulation stays offshore, all right? And the bigger impacts will continue to be the rain, but the Hurricane Center does have this as a 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Now, we don't really have any verification right now that we have 50-mile-an-hour winds, and the Hurricane Center even thinks they might be overdoing the initial winds a lot. There are going to be hurricane reconnaissance aircraft getting back into Sara later tonight, so we'll have a little bit better idea. But you can see that as we get into Sunday, just to kind of paint this on here for our friends along the Belize coastline, if we take a look at what some of those numbers could look like, again, they're not as significant as 50, but you need to start preparing for what's going to be probably 30, 35 mile an hour winds in some areas. And that does include all the way up towards Cozumel. Cancun shouldn't be as persistent, but still 25, 30 mile an hour winds, more than likely moving inland. Again, the GFS is slightly weaker, so that's why we have a little bit of a weaker storm. And some of the freshest winds right now might actually be on the northeast side into the open waters here of the western side of the Caribbean. Now, as far as rainfall totals go, let's take a look at those couple of different models. This is going to be the big story. I have mentioned it before. Again, on this product, all right, we don't go above 14 inches here on this particular legend. And you can see the bullseye of more than a foot of rain, well more than an additional 250 millimeters of rain for the northern sides of Honduras. La Ceiba, San Pedro Sula, Roatan, Guanaja, coastal sides of Guatemala, in towards Belize, all the way up towards San Pedro, Chechemal, the southern sides of Quintana Roo, heavy rain up the coastline towards Tulum and Cozumel, and probably as far north as Cancun. Now, I do expect there to be a fairly big difference between what Cancun gets relative to what Chechemal will get along the Quintana Roo coastline, but all areas will be impacted. Surf and sea conditions are going to be extremely churned up as well with the onshore winds. So just big time rainfall impacts here. Some of that for portions of Nicaragua, and then you get back down towards the western Pacific coastline, towards Managua and Tegucigalpa. But again, very heavy rain is possible here and also through portions of the Pacific coastline of Costa Rica and Panama. You've got the south side of Sara and Pacific moisture coming into these areas to also spell some excessive rain. This is what the European model brings, okay? Take myself off camera, look again, over the next 7 days, but really it's just over the next 4 that we have to concern ourselves with. And the highest rainfall total that we see is about 28 inches, okay? And that 28-inch rainfall total would be right here. Sadly, the Hurricane Center is actually even higher than that. Again, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm very concerned about our friends in northern Honduras with already some of the pictures and videos that have been coming in and what we still could see over the weekend. Friends, this is directly from the National Hurricane Center, okay? We're talking about 15 to 25 inches of rain, 375 to 625 millimeters, but now up to 35 inches. Up to 875 millimeters could fall within a very short amount of time in portions of northern Honduras. You're talking about life-threatening flash flooding. I mean, as serious of a situation as you can get with rapidly moving water. Flash flooding, landslides, mudslides, still especially near Sierra La Esperanza, but many other areas of northern Honduras could feel the full brunt of the amount of rain that Sara could bring. In addition to that, the northern coastline and the Bay Islands of Honduras are expected to see a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. For Guatemala, Belize, Nicaragua, and the Yucatan and other areas of Central America as well, it's 5 to 10 inches of rain, but even locally up to 15. I believe the highest areas there will be coastal sides of Guatemala, the southern sides of Belize, and then portions of Nicaragua as well. Okay, other areas could get it. Southern sides of Quintana Roo have that opportunity to push up to around 10 inches of rain at all. But this is catastrophic flooding that is going to occur with Sara continuing to sit over these areas through the weekend. Okay, I can't stress this enough. If you live in these areas, please take life-saving measures right now to avoid any life-threatening conditions, okay? It is a huge, huge catastrophe, unfortunately unfolding right now in northern Honduras and other areas of Central America, even towards the southern sides of Quintana Roo, and our thoughts are with our friends there. Now, where does Sara go from here? GFS ensemble tracks, again, deep into Central America, through the Yucatan and Mexico, and then back out into the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to get picked up by a cold front. It's going to accelerate and rapidly move off towards the east. Now, most of the models have Sara either completely falling apart or just some kind of a hybrid mid-level cyclone still spinning in the Gulf of Mexico. Hardly any of them keep this as a truly tropical system moving into the Gulf. But you can see on the tropical model intensity forecast, as it moves inland over Belize as a tropical storm, it obviously dissipates back into depression level status in most spots, but a few of the models try and regenerate tropical storm force winds as we get towards mid next week, which could quickly rush across the western sides of Florida. So again, even if this is not a true tropical low-level storm into next week, there is the opportunity that it could bring some wind and rain to the western sides of Florida. So now let's look at that. We'll take our GFS model and we'll extend it out a little bit more. It does look like the time frame, by the way, is going to be Wednesday for these areas. Now, it's not a slam dunk, and I'm not overly concerned about what Florida is going to see. You don't need to make any preparations along the west coast of Florida. Right? This could get picked up by our cold front and just be a broad area of wind and rain. But I just want to state that we may not have zero impacts out of the circulation that is left from Sara. And so let's take a look at this. As we get into our Monday, the 18th, you can see the GFS just kind of holds a very broad area here of rain. Notice that it kind of gets elongated from southwest to northeast. That's the influence of that cold front coming in through the southern plains and into the United States East Coast. And then you can clearly see as we go through the day on Wednesday, so this is Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you get a rush of some wind and some rain. Should be extremely fast moving. I'm not concerned about anything at this point in time that pushes off the East Coast into our Wednesday night, where we could then have some rain and downpours for the northern sides of the Bahamas, including Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and places like Nassau, New Providence, Andros, and the Eleuthera areas as well. That's down the road, but it's an opportunity. If we look at the winds, again at the surface associated with this, and I've got more to talk about this mid-latitude cyclone, by the way, that's coming in towards Bermuda as well. But let's first of all talk about these winds associated with Sara. Once again, you can just see it's a elongated field. Now right at the end, right, and these are surface-based winds, as I said, we may not truly get a low-level center to redefine itself, but there could be a push of wind back into portions of the eastern panhandle, the Nature Coast, and then back down towards the Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg area as well. When we look at the winds associated with this on Wednesday afternoon, once again, they're more in that 30-mile-an-hour range, maybe slightly higher than that. So, again, heavy wind-driven rain for a brief amount of time, more than likely not a true tropical low-level center to try and form. But for my friends along the west coast of Florida, northern Bahamas, we just can't completely write off Sara yet, okay? I just don't want to say, hey, it's gone, forget about it, because I think on Wednesday we could have some impacts with some wind and rain coming through. This is the European deterministic model. Again, it obliterates Sara over the Yucatan. It's a very broad area that moves back into the west coast of Florida, same time frame on Wednesday, okay? So the European and the GFS are in fairly good agreement, right? More than likely a mid-level spin, a broad low-level spin, nothing truly tropical coming out of this again into the Gulf of Mexico, but some wind and rain coming across Florida on Wednesday. Here's our high-resolution hurricane models. We'll start with the half-seg. Once again, Sara bobbles around with the life-threatening rainfall for Central America, southern sides of the Yucatan. Exits the coastline back into the Bay of Campeche on the southwest Gulf on Monday. Now, the half-Z has a little bit stronger low-level center here on early Wednesday morning. If you look at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, these are sustained winds, and it does have 56-mile-an-hour winds near that center if you look towards Tampa Bay. if you look towards Tampa Bay, you're going to see some 40s or higher here with an onshore wind. Now, this is about the highest case scenario that I could see even plausible, right? That these will probably just be some kind of near gale winds being pushed into portions of Tampa Bay or the Nature Coast at the highest threat. It's still something to monitor. We've got plenty of time. We still have to, first of all, see if the low-level center survives moving over the Yucatan and then what might be left of that on Monday. So plenty of days to watch, but some of the higher resolution hurricane models like the HAFS-A are still trying to hold something together. Here is the HWRF. This is a little bit more ragged in the initial states, gets a little bit stronger towards Belize early on Sunday, then it really does fall apart over the Yucatan, Mexico, never truly fully evolves again. This is a very elongated area. You can clearly see that, and that would be stretched by that cold front, so southwest to northeast. This is also Wednesday afternoon. Still has some 40-mile-an-hour winds associated with it, but again, I think that would be at a small core of this, but it's the same scenario for the west coast of Florida. Wind and rains pick up through the day on Wednesday. It then quickly ushers itself out of there by late Wednesday night. Still could see some wind and rain in the northern Bahamas late Wednesday and into early on Thursday. So again, direct impacts. We've talked about the rain, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatan. Some impacts, including some isolated flooding, are possible, Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Less likely to get any impacts for the west coast of Florida, but again, the threat is non-zero, and we just can't write off Sara yet for the west coast of Florida, but I'm not overly concerned about how that might play out. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You want to give me a quick, simple payback, just like this video right now. Click that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing this video with your family and friends, anyone who you think will get something out of it. Appreciate all of our friends finding ways to support the channel. Appreciate the memberships. That's the join button. Many of you have given super thanks lately, and I want to thank those individually who have done that. You can also find ways to support the channel via the PayPal and the Venmo in the description below. So now we're going to get into what's been happening across our area the rest of this Friday, because we've actually had some impactful weather. So let me switch back over here real quickly to our main timeline and bring back up the latest satellite data. And I also want to bring back up our winds, okay? Because I want to bring back up this buoy data, because the first thing I want to mention is look at the winds that are coming off of the United States East Coast with this mid-level circulation here coming off the Carolinas. 47-mile-an-hour wind there. Guess what's in the way? Bermuda. Bermuda, your winds and rains will be picking back up. Expect gale conditions portions of your Saturday as this quickly works its way through. But there could be some 40-plus mile-an-hour winds associated with this spin that'll be working across the island as we go into our Saturday. We've actually had some areas of very heavy rain in portions of the British Virgin Islands where we actually have an ongoing flash flood advisory. So for Anegada and Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Jost Van Dyke, Road Town, places like that. I know it doesn't look like much here on the satellite imagery, but we've had pockets of heavier rain. Let me bring up the VisSat here, or the visible satellite imagery. And again, we've lost a lot of the daylight, so it's harder to see, but earlier in the day, we had some passing heavier showers. And if you live in those areas, let me know in the comments section below. I'd appreciate that, how that rain has played out. We've had some scattered showers over portions of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. We can take a live look at the radar out of San Juan right now, or out of the southeast side of Puerto Rico. And again, you can see the scattered showers. They're not as prominent right now over the British Virgin Islands. Some of those have extended over the northern sides of the Lesser Antilles, places like St. Martin and St. Bart's and Anguilla, at least with the opportunity for a few showers. Same thing for Saba and St. Eustatius. Scattered heavy rain continues over portions of interior Puerto Rico towards San Juan on the northern side, east towards Fajardo and the Humacao areas. Rip current advisories, small craft advisories on the northern sides of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and portions of the Dominican Republic as well. Very kicked up sea conditions in this area for today, and really for this part of the Caribbean and the Greater Antilles in general. That's the big story, because for the Lesser Antilles, there's a high surf warning that's going into effect. We're going to have swells up to 10 feet all the way down towards Barbados, where they have a general swell advisory for swells up to 8 feet. So you do have some significant waves that are developing in this area here to go along with some fresh breeze. okay? And we've had some scattered showers skirt over portions of Cuba as well. Another area that's been impacted recently, we've had some good heavy rain and active weather over portions of the ABC Islands, especially over Aruba. Take a look at this video that Andre sent me earlier today of this funnel cloud over Aruba. Very clear to see that cone coming down from this massive thunderstorm on the left-hand side of your screen. Look at that huge rain shaft. I mean, it's coming down hard there in Aruba, and several friends of the channel have left me comments that let me know that, hey, yeah, it's been coming down in Aruba. So hopefully you've gotten some of that rain. So now let's see how this plays out for the rest of our area, and we'll go island by island with your rainfall forecast over the next several days. So let's loop this back up. Once again, for Bermuda, we'll start there just because this is going to be outside of Sara, the most impactful weather here over the weekend. So let that loop up, pause it right there. Again, for tomorrow, watch this mid-latitude cyclone come right over the island late tonight through our Saturday. Gale conditions are likely. Then behind it, still some very blustery winds, although I do expect the rain to diminish by early on Sunday. Once again, our friends of the Bahamas could be impacted mid next week by Sara. Until then, it's going to be pretty dry, a very low wind chance. But again, eventually we'll start to pick up some rain as a possibility late Wednesday. But until then, low chances for the entire Bahamas into the Turks and the Caicos. Cuba's rain chances will be isolated at best over the next few days, except for the western side of the island. Best chance for some rain outside of Central America, again, is going to be places like Jamaica. Let's get into that forecast for my friends there. Take a look at this again. We'll start off tonight. Scattered showers will continue. Some locally heavy downpours. Tomorrow does look to be relatively wet. Pretty good chance for showers and some storms, especially central and the western side of the island. This is tomorrow afternoon, but you can see the rain covers up the island pretty good. And then still some scattered showers for your Sunday. Should begin to dry out on Monday. It's going to be the same situation for the Cayman Islands as well, where locally heavy rainfall and potential flooding is an issue for the Cayman Islands through at least tomorrow in some spots. So check in with your local government and your local officials. Scattered rain continues through Sunday and beginning to break apart as we get into our Monday. But again, in this area, the next couple of days, that's some pretty good rainfall as Sara basically sits just off the Honduras coastline before it moves inland over Belize. Now, again, we've already talked about the situation here, concerned about some heavy rain and wind for Belize. For my friends in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, we're going to continue with some good scattered showers here, right? Locally heavy downpours are likely. Nothing extremely concentrated, but with the heat of the day, I expect some showers and storms to pop off. We still have this area here just to the north in the island. You can kind of see that east to west orientation. There's more lift in the atmosphere. Overall, the weather is just relatively unstable. Now, scattered showers will continue across the Lesser Antilles. They'll fall a little bit Sunday and into Monday as far as rain chances go. But you can see here, take a look at the GFS model. Nice little slug of moisture trying to kind of redevelop near Barbados and portions of the Windward Islands towards St. Vincent and the Grenadines South. We'll see if it actually gets over the islands or stays off towards the east, but that's the kinds of features I can't rule out, producing some locally heavy rainfall from time to time. So here's how the rain chance breaks down in your area. Again, virtually no chance for rain for the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos over the weekend and into Monday. Rain chances will be scattered at best over Cuba. Very high rain chance tomorrow in the Cayman Islands, scattered Sunday, more isolated on Monday. Widespread heavy flooding rains for Belize City and all Belize in general through the weekend. Still some scattered rain on Monday. Cancun and Cosmo's rain chances are exceptionally high. You get south towards Chechmal, and that's 100% chance for rain, but obviously it's going to be fairly wet. Surf and sea conditions very turned up in these spots. Jamaica's rain chance tomorrow, 70% chance, still 50 on Sunday, then back down to a 30 on Monday. Pretty good rain chances over the weekend for the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, more isolated on Monday. Same situation for the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and just like today, can't rule out some flash flood advisories being hoisted up by the local governments. We could get 1 to 3 inches or 25 to 75 millimeters in one day in a couple of spots, so watch out for that. Again, Bermuda, really active weather tomorrow. Then it quiets down Sunday, Monday. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis stay with some pretty good rain chances through Monday. 60% chance Antigua Barbuda tomorrow, 50 Sunday, 40 on Monday. Rain chances will fall a bit, but still in the scattered variety for Montserrat and Guadeloupe. Same thing for Dominica and Martinique. We'll get a little bit lower chance for St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. But as I mentioned, I can't rule out a couple of pockets of heavier showers there. Barbados, 50% chance for showers and a few storms. Watch out for the swells, northern western sides of Barbados over the weekend. Monday, a 40% chance. Grenada, scattered to isolated. Same thing for Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname and Guyana. Nothing extremely concentrated, but the rain chance will be there. Then it is more isolated for Nueva Esparta. I do think that the best chance for rain, at least in the short term for the ABC Islands, is gone. But I can't rule out a couple of scattered showers for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao over the weekend. If you are doing some boating, again, several areas of interest, several things to just keep an eye on here. Bermuda is one. Obviously, the Western Caribbean is two. Even coastal Jamaica, we're getting some thunderstorm at sea watches and warnings coming up from time to time, elevated surf conditions in some spots, and again, just more elevated seas in the Lesser Antilles as well, and then the northern sides of the Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico, Turks and Caicos, and again, the near gale conditions continue for the Bahamas. It is a very active weekend for boaters, so please check in with the local forecast. But there's a lot of elevated surf and sea conditions to go around for almost everyone. Got to be honest, might be staying in port. Friends, follow us across all of social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture video like many of you have recently, and I appreciate it. It's mymediamundo@gmail.com. Again, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. And again, please, while you're down there, thank you for liking and subscribing. Let's get the channel to 50,000 subscribers as quick as possible. The only way to do that is with your support, and I appreciate it. Again, our thoughts are with our friends who are being impacted by Sara and who will be impacted by Sara. This is a very dangerous storm for those folks. Our thoughts are with you guys. I'm back tomorrow with the latest information. Until then, you guys take care. I'll see you soon right here at Media Mundo.